What's going on YouTube? Darksword255 here with the numbers maybe randomly generated, but the content itself is not. And guys, I wanted to do a mini champion review. Well, it's not gonna be a mini, but it's gonna be a champion review, guys. There is a epic void champion that I think is superior than a lot of legendary champions. And I was talking to a relatively inexperienced player the other day that he actually ended up having this champion and hasn't even used her. And I was like, oh my God, dude, you need to jump on this champion. She is so strong. And if you have her, basically most people really will eventually get this champion. Like I said, she's a void epic. If you've been playing the game for any duration of time, also, if you've really pulled a lot of void shards, you should have her. But again, there's a lot of people who just don't utilize her. And she is utilized in so many areas of the game. So let's go ahead, guys, and jump right into her kit. Why she's so strong, why she's one of my favorite champions. And when I got her, I was over the effing moon. Sorry for my language, but I was over the moon. And like I said, I'll show you guys how I use her and why I think she's OP. To become part of my team, click the link in the description right now to get Elenaril for free, as well as 3 more amazing epic champions as you level up. Here's how you do it. Log out of Plarium Play on your PC and uninstall it. Click the link in the description, register with a brand new email, launch raid, and complete the tutorial. Go to your inbox and claim your first champion. Don't miss out on this chance to get a free Elenaril along with 3 epics as you progress through raid. Click on my link right now and let's get started. Alrighty, guys, so as you can see, the woman of the hour is Seer. Now, Seer is a unfathomably amazing champion for PvE. I use her in so many different teams throughout the game, guys, and you guys can too if you end up pulling her. If you have pulled a lot of void shards or have been playing the game for a while, most people have Seer. Now, I think that for a long time, I actually had my Seer built incorrectly. I had her built incorrectly, guys. So hopefully this video will help be a little bit more insightful for you guys. If you guys have a Seer, how to build her and really how to maximize how overpowered this champion is. So let's go ahead, guys, jump into the kit, jump into the different ways to build her. And then we'll do some tests on some different dungeons where I mainly utilize Seer. Alrighty, guys, we're gonna go ahead and jump right into her kit. Her A1 attacks one enemy, has a 15% chance of gaining an extra turn. Cool, you know, whatever. Her A2 places a 30% increase crit rate buff on all allies for 2 turns, placing a 25% weaken debuff on all enemies for 2 turns, which is, you know, that's pretty nice. But this ability, her A3, is what separates Seer from every other champion. Karma Burn removes all buffs from all allies and enemies, then attacks enemies. Damage increases according to the number of buffs removed. So as many buffs as she has, if she strips them all, bam, done, right? Has a 50% chance of placing a sleep debuff on all enemies for 1 turn, and places a sleep debuff, increases by 5% for each buff removed. Basically, her A3 doesn't do as much to bosses, which should never really, you're never utilizing her A3 on bosses. So I guess that's just like redundant here, right? Now, a couple caveats here, right? My Seer is fully awakened, 6-starred, so she is getting an additional 30% crit damage, as well as crushing Ren's ability. Each round, a number of this champion's hits will ignore a percentage of the target's defense. So this hits very, very hard. I mean, like having crushing Ren on her is insane. But you know, mainly like if you have a blessing on her, you're getting that increased damage and obviously speed. So you know, when you're comparing my Seer to, like, let's say yours or other Seers, you know, my Seer's built a little bit insane. So just keep that caveat in mind, and like I said, we'll figure out and explain how I have her built. Let's go ahead and jump into her mastery, guys. We absolutely want the most amount of crit damage as possible. So I have an additional 20%. You can't see because of my face is in the way. Now I'm in the middle. Anyways, so now you can actually see how I have all of the masteries, guys. I would say that, you know, you really want to go with flawless execution if you're really down bad, if your gear is that terrible. going with Helm Smasher is okay. Again, you know, I would stick either between Helm Smasher, depending on your gear, your awakening, or like I said, you could go with Flawless Executioner. You know, it depends on if you're struggling with, you know, building her out. Again, I prefer the crit damage because crit damage is one of the most important things to build on her. Now, jumping into how I have my Seer built, you have a multitude of different options when building her. You want to try to use sets that ignore champion defense. Lethal, Savage, Cruel, Merciless. All of those sets are fantastic if you can get them on. Really, whatever you have, I would rather personally have, you know, Lethal on her, but this is my quote unquote best Savage set that I have, and it ends up being better than the lethal gear that I've crafted. So she is in Savage. Again, you know, any of those sets that ignore a champion's defense is vital. We want her to be smashing through the defense. The goal of Seer is to annihilate waves that help you progress through missions. Doom Tower, Spider, Dragon, Ice Golem. You're going to be utilizing Seer to clear those waves extremely quickly and efficiently, guys. So even, you know, a high HP target, she's able to knock down depending on how many buffs you're adding on her. Now, when we go ahead and look at this, guys, it's going to be a little bit weird, right? When we're going to be looking at Seer, we're going to be, hey, Dark Sword, why does she have like no attack, like no attack percentage? Like, don't we want our Seer to have very high attack as well as crit damage? Like, this doesn't make sense. Now, and this is how I messed up for a long time with my Seer, and this is why I say it's super, super important. I had a Seer with high attack and honestly about 100 less crit damage. Now, the thing is, as we read in her kit, she does the more damage multiplier based on how many buffs are being removed. So if that crit damage is extremely high, when you go ahead and detonate your A3, you're hitting so much exponentially harder that the attack doesn't matter. Again, you could have one attack and you would still be able to clear the waves, right? So the most important thing, I mean, it's kind of sad that she has 113% crit rate. Like, that hurts a little bit, but having 300% crit damage is insane. And she's also built insanely fast for really Seer, right? I had traditionally, for my other accounts, or if I've done some account takeovers, I normally have my Seer around 210 speed, normally. As long as your Seer is going before the enemy wave, that is the only thing that matters. So you basically want to build your Seer with that in mind. Do you need her to be 450, almost 450 speed? Obviously no. You just want her to go before the wave goes. So if that's 200 speed, 210 speed, you just build her to go before the enemy wave gets to go. Obviously we want to have accuracy. So if for whatever crazy reason you drop your nuke, aka your A3, and it doesn't kill them, which does happen sometimes, if you don't have high crit damage, this will strip all the enemy buffs as well as putting them to sleep, right? So like, if for example, if you have a Seer and you're using her in your faction wars and you don't have a lot of buffs that you're able to put down, you know, at least the benefit is you're stripping champions buffs and then putting them to sleep. So if you can have her with high accuracy, you definitely want that. I have high resistance mainly because it's a 6-star awakened Seer, so not that important. The most important things, guys, is obviously 100% crit rate, the highest crit damage you can get, then accuracy, and then speed. Again, anything higher than 210 speed is good. I built her very fast to deal with the event dungeon. Obviously, we've had a lot of different event dungeons with different speeds. So, you know, for the higher end of the event dungeon, that changes, and you really mainly use Seer to clear all of the ads, and then you have other champions kill the boss. Again, you know, it's easier for me to build her because she's 6-star awakened, because I have my Great Hall pretty much full. Like you can see, well, my face is kind of covering it. I'm getting plus 80 resistance, plus 80 accuracy, plus 25% crit damage. So, you know, because I've been hammering out the Great Hall, she hits hard. Again, if you're first time building Seer, do not try to go for the stats that I have. They are whale, endgame, disgusting, filthy stats. Just try to get those markers above 200 speed the highest crit damage you can get, obviously 100% crit rate, and go from there. She is amazing, guys. You do need to pair her with a reset champion, and I'll go into the different options in a moment, guys, when we jump into the dungeons that we're going to be utilizing her in, because I was unlucky for an unbelievable amount of time getting reset champions until very recently. If you guys follow the channel at all, pulling a Kymar for the first time and almost, I think I've been playing the game since 2019, like getting at my first Kymar, I've been using, a rare to reset the waves. So annoying, but again, there's a lot of different options for you guys there. Let's go ahead, guys, and jump into some different areas of the game that I am utilizing Seer. Alrighty, guys, one of my favorite areas to utilize Seer is in Spider. And honestly, guys, hilariously enough, hard Spider, in my opinion, is significantly easier than the normal Spider, because killing the Spiderlings help, basically do a metric ton of damage to the boss, versus normal Spider, you have to hit the actual Spider to do the damage. So we're going to do a quick run through this real quick, just to showcase, kind of how I use her in this team. All right, so we put down, kill all of the ads with Seer's A3, and then Ganuk comes in here and kills the boss. I forgot that I took gear off of Deacon, so this is not going to work. But basically how the team is supposed to work quickly, Deacon puts the decreased defense down. We have fire that gets put down, a fire activator, which is Artak. Then Seer goes, kills all the Spiderlings. Ganuk runs in. It was his A3 and kills the spider. Yep, see, there you go. Forgot that I took gear off of that Deacon. I have to rebuild him to work for this team. But you guys get the general gist. Very easy team. This is a very easy team. Even if you don't have Ganuk, Royal Guard, Cold Heart, it can be utilized in this team, guys. Again, Seer is just doing massive damages to the boss, as well as, you're utilizing her to hit the Spiderlings and do an unbelievable amount of damage. So Spider is a big area that I use her in. Dragon is a huge area that I use her in as well. Lydia puts down the decreased defense. We're adding a ton of buffs onto Lydia. Boom. Lydia absolutely wipes the wave. We have Donatello, who's going to reset everybody. We're getting a lot of buffs put back down. Boom, reset. Seer is buffing herself. And then when Seer goes again, she's going to nuke the wave. And that's basically how you're using Seer, right? You're just quickly going through and carving through the wave. And then obviously you get to the boss here, and then you go ahead and kill the boss. This team's a little bit different. Everybody's designed to die in this team, except for Saltus here. And then Saltus quickly kills the dragon here. Now, this is how I utilize her in Ice Golem also. This team is a little bit broken at the moment because my rabbit is not built anymore, and my renegade is also not built anymore. But you guys get a general gist of how this team works. Let's just see if it actually does work. I don't remember. Again, I think I took gear off of people. Nope. Okay, cool. It works. I think Renegade doesn't have gear on her, but basically Renegade's gonna reset everybody on the team very similarly to Bam, like how Donatello does. And then Bam, very, very, very straightforward. And then I have Ardact. Everybody on this team is going to die. Then Ardact will stay alive and kill the boss. But again, we're utilizing Seer to progress through the stages, and so she's very, very important to quote unquote speed run a lot of the major dungeons here, guys. Spider, Dragon, Ice Golem. I would not use her in Fire Knight. You can, but getting to the end, you really can't do it in hard. You can't really utilize her in hard. Now, I don't have any keys, guys, right now to showcase how the team that I use to climb in Doom Tower, but there are 3 champions, guys, that I want to really tell you that you kind of need, not necessarily need, but I guess 4 champions. There are 4 champions that you can use with a Seer comp like that. It's very easy to build a Seer team, right? You want people to be dumping a lot of buffs down on Seer, and then Seer to immediately activate all of those buffs that are being placed on her. Then, you have another champion to reset all of your champions to be able to put all the buffs back on Seer, then Seer detonates them all. So it's a constant cycle of buffing, detonating, buffing, detonating. So there are 4 champions top of mind that you guys can use as a reset champion. Again, we'll go from the bottom up because these two rare champions, they do work. They're just really not as good as obviously the legendary champions are. So let's go ahead and jump into that. So real quick, guys, if you're really bare bones, utilizing Painkeeper is great here. I'm using her A3. Again, it's just okay. You can use her in a pinch. Her A3 decreases the cooldown of all allies turns by 1. This skill cannot have its cooldowns reduced by other skills. It's just okay. Very, very much just okay. Again, if you're in a pinch and don't have anybody else, she's great. And the champion I use for many, many years is Renegade. Obviously, you want Renegade to go before Seer so she can go ahead and reset everybody. Basically, her A3 decreases the cooldown of all allies by 2 turns, which is basically a guaranteed that your Seer gets to go again. With Painkeeper, you're only reducing it by 1 turn. Not as great. Like I said, like we're going from the bottom up. So I use Renegade for many, many years. Decreases the cooldown of all skills by 2. This skill does not affect this champion or other champions, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, 5 turns, 5-turn cooldown, like 5, 6, 7 is normally a 7, but she is a rare and she is a void. So if you, pull any amount of voids, let's say you're looking for Seer, there's a very good chance that you have this champion. And for many years, I use Renegade, as you just saw in my Ice Golem team. She's great with Seer. Obviously, the cream of the crop would be using Kymar here, utilizing his A3. Reset the cooldown for all allies, fills everybody's turn meter, except this champion by 20. This will not reset the cooldowns of this champion. Great. Obviously, I don't have him booked right now, but he's great because he's increasing the speed of your overall team when he does his A2. So basically what you do, let's say we're just doing Doom Tower. The first wave, you have this ability turned off. Second wave, you have this ability be the first ability that he does, which automatically resets everybody's skills as well as speeds everybody up. Seer go ahead and nukes the wave, and then you get to the last wave. It's pretty straightforward from there. I have 2 Kymars, so it's actually even easier. I can literally have the second Kymar wait until the last wave to use his A3. If you wanted to be fancy like that, you can do that. I don't necessarily care. But this champion is one of my favorites, and most people, if you have been doing the fusions recently, should have this champion. It is my boy Donatello here. So Donatello is amazing. His A2 does a very similar thing. Attacks all allies, decreases the cooldown of all allies skills except this champion's by 2 turns. And this is on a 4-turn cooldown. This skill cannot be okay, yep, we know that. It also puts an increased speed down. So I mean, Donatello is awesome. If you've been playing the game, guys, again, we just had this guy as a fusion. If you have a Seer, just pair him with Donatello. Donatello, awesome. He puts out a bunch of buffs as well as active skill cooldown. Really, really amazing. Again, you guys should have him. If you didn't do the fusion, I'm sorry, you missed a great champion. But Seer paired with Donatello, amazing, guys, amazing. So if you guys want a little bit more of an in-depth guide of how to build Seer for let's say waves, again, it's very straightforward. You saw it in a couple of the quick little tests that I did, guys. Some different champions. You just basically want your Seer to be thrown with a bunch of buffs, and then you have a reset champion. It's super simple. Super simple and straightforward. Again, guys, I hope that this video was insightful for you. Again, I learned, not recently, I would say probably the beginning of this year, and I ended up rebuilding my Seer because I had her with high attack. The attack doesn't matter. The attack doesn't matter. It's the amount of crit damage. The higher the crit damage is better. If you need to have low attack, that is worth it for getting more crit damage. Like I said, hope this video was insightful, guys. If you have not already liked the video and subscribed to the channel, make sure to do those 2 things, guys. It really, really helps with the algorithm, and I will see everybody in the next one.